The story's from Vice Gaming. Walmart removes violent video game signage and is still selling guns. This is from Nicole Carpenter over at Vice.com. It says Walmart stores are reportedly removing, quote, signing and displays referencing violence, end quote, including signage and playable demos for video games following recent shootings at two of its stores. On July 30th, a gunman shot two Walmart employees and injured a police officer at a Walmart in South Haven, Mississippi. The following Saturday, on August 3rd, a 21-year-old man killed 22 people and wounded 24 others at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas. Days after the shooting, President Trump blamed in part, quote, gruesome and grisly video games, end quote, as well as mental health issues for mass shootings in America, despite evidence that suggests otherwise. And if you guys want to hear my thoughts on that particular Trump quote, you can go back and watch Monday's episode of the PvA Nightly Rundown. We talked at length about that, so I'm not going to rehash much of that conversation except to say, I think it's a distraction. There's been countless studies that have proven there is no link between violent video games and violence. And I'll leave it there. You can go listen to my 20-minute rant on it on Monday's episode. Back to the article. It says, this week, Walmart sent employees a notice entitled, quote, immediate action removes signing and displays referencing violence, end quote. Freelance writer Kenneth Shepard posted an image of the notice on Twitter, and other copies have circulated on Reddit. Quote, review your store for any signing or displays that contain violent images or aggressive behavior, end quote. The notice reads, quote, remove from the sales floor or turn off these items immediately, end quote. It's unclear how widely the notice was circulated. The notice instructs workers to remove demos of violent games, specifically PlayStation or Xbox units, events for combat style or third-person shooter games scheduled in the electronics department, movies depicting violence, and hunting season videos playing in the sports goods section. It also noted that merchandisers from Anderson Merchandisers, a service provider for Walmart, will send out representatives to update display consoles and demo units, quote, within the next few weeks. So, yeah, you can go and read the rest of this article over at Vice. Really good reporting being done over there. I'm interested to see what all this includes, right? Because you go into a video game section, and it's not just the marketing posters that you have. It's not just the games that you can play on the demo units, but it's also, you know, are they having to turn around or blockade off box art that has violent imagery on it? Are they having to turn it like you see it like in the adult section of like an old FYE back in the day, where they had like the sleeves over it for the DVDs that may have and Blu-rays that may have box art of that depicts violence? Like, I don't know. I get from a PR perspective that following the heinous incidents that happened over the weekend, that Walmart as a corporation feels the need to respond with something to try to distance themselves from something in order to make it seem like they're sensitive to this issue. And look, I'm not saying that the people that are making these decisions aren't sensitive to these issues, but it seems like a move being made because they feel like a move has to be made, but it feels like the wrong move that's being made because you know, the article goes on to read the very last paragraph. It says, notably, the company's memo does not mention the removal of actual guns for sale from Walmart stores, despite pleas from gun control activists and employees. Walmart said this week that there's, quote, been no change in its gun policy, end quote, according to USA Today. And that's the problem with the entire conversation. We bypass the obvious thing to have a discussion about and move to the thing that is further down the line and much less likely to actually be the factor. And you may argue, well, the box art and the demo units and all that sort of stuff, it glorifies violence and it's showing guns being used against other human beings and in a violent fashion, whereas selling a gun, you know, can have any kind of use. You know, maybe it's for hunting, maybe it's you know, you shoot as a hobby or something like that. But the point is that it has not been the violent video games that have caused these things. It is the access to guns that causes these heinous acts to occur. And it seems tone deaf to try to address the one thing when there's just a much more obvious thing pointing at you. It's like if I was on fire and I had a headache at the same time and I was popping Advil rather than extinguishing the flames that were engulfing me. It just doesn't make any sense to me why we start here and not in the more obvious place. I don't want to dwell too much here because it's just going to bum me out again. And I said plenty on Monday about my thoughts on all of this, but I think shame on Walmart for making a move because they felt like they had to make a move and ignoring the actual move that needs to be made. If your concern is stopping these kinds of acts, then you, as one of the biggest retailers in the country, can say we're not going to sell guns at our place anymore and take a stand there. But removing signage for video games temporarily, mind you, this is not going to be a permanent thing. Removing this stuff temporarily and then turning back around in 3 months or 2 months or a month when we're on to whatever the next tragedy is, as awful as that is to say, that's how this country works. We do the bare minimum to skirt by until the next thing can come along to distract us. And that's what this feels like. I'm just sick of it.